Hey mini enthusiasts, how are you doing? Welcome back. This is part 11 of the Project ERA build. And we're very nearly at the end of all the panel work and welding. So it'd be quite nice to get that all done, start the prep work and get some paint on the car. So that really feels good when you're getting some paint on. And it's kind of that stage where you start putting things back together again, start reassembling the car. So we're really not far off that now. So as you join us today, in the last update, I was welding in the turbo bulkhead. And today it's really just going around finishing up the last welds on the car. So Lucy just bringing out the lunch there, so I must kind of give a mention to the wives and family behind these builds, because Lucy always provides a lunch. They're always nice, always keep us going, and as you might have seen in the Project Kit build, Lucy gets very involved as well, and as you'd have seen on my Project Sprout build as well, my wife Angie gets involved with the build as well, and the kids at times as well. So you kind of have to have the family on side when you're doing stuff like this, because yeah, working weekends on minis is working weekends when you're not spending time with family, so sometimes it can become a bit of a difficult trade-off and a bit of a balancing act, keeping everyone happy. So Mark's just cutting out the support bars there, which have been in kind of since the beginning of the panel work really, just to make sure that everything keeps aligned, or to try and stop things moving anyway. So you might have seen there, that was the lower dash rail and parcel shelf going into the front of the car. It's called a parcel shelf actually, it's kind of the panel work in front of the lower dash rail. I guess on older Minis it becomes a parcel shelf because you can actually put things there, but on later Minis with the full dashboard you can't really get much there. It's really just there to support and for mounting points. But we had issues with that. Really not issues with the panels, it was just issues in, I guess you'd say, our inexperience. We'd not done a lower dash rail before and it didn't seem wide enough. As it comes, it's not the full width of the car, but having looked on Sprout and having looked on the other Minis, there are brackets that go either end, which we looked for really hard and you don't seem to be able to buy. Well, we certainly couldn't find them anyway, so we ended up making out some brackets, and the brackets really just mount that inner A post to the end of the lower dash rails on each side. Like I say, the actual parcel shelf part comes separate from the lower dash rail, so you have first, before you fit it, you have to spot weld those two panels together. And we actually got caught out for once. Doesn't happen very often, but that lower dash rail was something we didn't measure when we took out, so we didn't really, well, we thought we had some marks to line it back up again, just the old weld marks, but yeah, it didn't really work out. Anyway, after a bit of faffing around, measuring, comparing with the dash rail on Sprout and Bolt, in the end Mark ended up replacing the dash rail again. So we sort of modified it a bit to fit, welded the brackets on, welded in place, and then yeah, it wasn't quite right. When I took the measurements on Sprout, it was quite a long way off, so it's not an expensive panel, thankfully. It was about 40 quid, so Mark ended up buying another one and we welded that in. So minor mistake, I guess, but nothing too much to worry about. But yeah, these things happen. So now that's the front end completely welded back on. It's going back on the rollover jig, just so we can finish off some welds on the floor. So Mark's working up the front there, just trying to heat up that toe board to the front floor pans, and where it is sort of semicircular there, where it goes around the exhaust tunnel or transmission tunnel, it's quite a difficult shape, and there's quite a big gap when you start with between the two panels. I mean, sort of, 3 or 4 millimeters, and of course that's no good for welding. So you can see me inside at the moment, and as I'm welding it, you're seeing the sort of red heat from the welder coming through. So obviously getting very good penetration there, but the panel did take a bit of working. So yeah, applying a little bit of heat, working it around a little bit. it needed shrinking a little bit. So you can buy shrinking tools, but you wouldn't be able to use it on a panel like that when it's in situ. But I think on most minis I've seen, those welds on that tunnel there between the toe board and the floor pan never look fantastic anyway. It's always quite distorted, that panel. So I thought I'd just mention while we can see it actually, you'll notice the roof on the car has not been sandblasted, and that's just because sandblasting can distort the panels when they're big sort of flat panels like the roof. So it's better to avoid sandblasting panels like the roof. So that's what was done on this build. It does obviously come with a risk that you don't know then what's underneath that paint, but Mark will at some point strip all the paint off the roof.
Right, so a milestone on the ERA. I think that is the welding 99% done. We just got to measure the bottom dash rail and make sure it's in the right position just before the final weld. Apart from that, all the front ends on, the turbo bulkhead plate is in, and then new floors and seals, inner, outer, inner wings, both sides. And at the back, all we had to do was just a couple of little repairs on the boot. So yeah, big milestone. Obviously the rear valance, the closing panel sections here, which has the car section in on the rear light, both sides of the closing panels.
Well, as you can see, that didn't quite go to plan. So Mark sent me a photo, and on a bit of further investigation we found a bit more rust in the boot, so that's coming up in the next episode. Have a great day guys, thanks for watching.